Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back from the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're diving into some content with 6 plus Hawkins, the newest super evolution to grace us over here on OPTC, and take a look at how he rocks, how he rolls, talk about his kit, and how the unit functions. Now, am I crazy, but is Hawkins kind of not bad anymore? Look, just because I'm saying he's not bad doesn't mean that I'm saying that he's good. But it seems that this guy got actually a pretty big buff. Now, they didn't buff him to the point where it's like, oh my god, Hawkins is so good and now he's in the meta. But what this guy was initially doing on release and through the carry of the game, he kind of wasn't doing too much for any team that you put him on. He had a pretty good support, and obviously people like to run him as a meme, but he does satisfy a particular playstyle that doesn't really resonate towards me. So look, that might be completely biased, but with what Hawkins is actually doing now, he does seem to be an actual runnable character. He seems like a very fun character, which is weird to say because I've never found Hawkins as a fun character. But his whole gimmick now with turning the enemy into a quick enemy so he gets type advantage is very interesting, just like Super Tandem Shanks and something like Green Bull and what they're actually doing. Now, there obviously is holes to that kit, but it does seem very interesting and a little bit fun on top of all that other fun stalling stuff that he tries to do. Now, Hawkins was always built up around trying to take damage, heal, reflect that damage, as well as applying an extra 2 or extra 1 per Hawkins, 1 counter to the enemy. So that way, if they were on a 1-turn attack boost, so for example, Virgo's on a 1-turn cooldown, he then goes up to a 2-turn cooldown. This would then go to a 3-turn cooldown if you were running 2 Hawkins, as you guys saw there. Now, this particular ability on paper sounds ridiculously strong. However, it's not as strong as it sounds because enemies would have interrupts, enemies would have end-of-turn shenanigans after 1 turn and after 2-turn stuff, which would still apply. So you could easily make them be on a 3-turn counter, so they're not attacking right away, but they're still doing all of their nasty stuff on turn 2. And on top of that, Hawkins' attack multiplier, because of this, was just so drastically nerfed. Now, Hawkins kind of has a little bit of a stronger multiplier. I believe he goes up to a 4.75, which, look, in today's day and age is absolutely mind-bogglingly low. But with that extra sort of 2 turns that he is providing, this sort of makes sense. Now, I don't love it, don't get me wrong, but within today's day and age with super tandems, final taps, all that kind of stuff, you can do a lot of damage to clear a lot of content very nicely. Now, we are taking him into some pretty old stuff with Revolutionary 2 and Dofi 2, sort of just seeing how he rocks there. And I'm trying to put together something that sort of incorporates what he's actually doing as a captain. He does buff Dex characters. He is a super type Dex, so if you bring Dex characters, you're getting the highest multiplier. But his special ability actually works for Cerebrals and works for Slashers. Now, whenever I hear Slasher or Free Spirit on anyone's tag, it instantly makes them better. If you're a Slasher or a Free Spirit character, you're instantly winning because you have access to Zoro Sanji. It's weird that one character makes every other character better, and obviously that's more of a testament to what Zoro Sanji's doing rather than what Hawkins is doing. But at the end of the day, if Hawkins has that kind of support, it does make him actually playable, in my opinion, where if you just don't have that support, like some of those other lower teams do, like shooters, like Driven even nowadays, and even fighters, then they're just not really that fun to use and that fun to run. But all in all, Hawkins' captain ability, he can heal after taking damage. He still has that very low multiplier, but then has that ability to extend enemies' attack timing. So that's super interesting. What they did add to Hawkins' kit, though, is they added the turn counter. So every time he uses a special, he adds a turn counter, and with his captain ability, every time he takes damage, he actually gives himself 2 turns of cooldown, which is very interesting. He's on a very low cooldown now, 10-turn cooldown, so that way you can actually get his special up pretty quickly and apply it up to 3 times to get the maximum ability with his special. Now, his super type is very easy to get and will automatically set you to a 3 turn counter, and all you need to do is bring a support that triggers on enemy effects. So if they add paralysis to your team, and you have a support that removes paralysis, it's going to then trigger the Hawkins super type, which is super easy to do. Any ability that the enemy applies to you, you just bring a support to get around that, and then you're automatically going to get the super type of Hawkins. As you guys saw in turn 1, we removed the bind, turn 3 I think it was. We removed the bind, and from that point on, we had Hawkins super type ready to go. We can automatically set our special limit to 3, and that way we can get the full benefits of his kit. Now, the benefits of his kit with being at a 3-turn cooldown brings in that mechanic where he can actually change the enemy's types. Now, if you wanted to build out Hawkins' team to the best of its ability, you really want to try and bring a full Dex team. Now, obviously, you need to build a team catered towards content, and sometimes that's just really not going to be the case. Obviously, with Zorosanji, they're not always a Dex character, so you're not always going to have that availability. But if you can get to a point where the enemy, 1, doesn't have full immunity, and you are bringing a bunch of Dex characters, just like we are doing over here on Dofi 2, you can actually turn the enemy into a quick unit, which therefore will allow you to have type advantage. And this can be great if you're going up against, say, a strength boss that doesn't have full immunity. You can then basically just turn them into a quick character, and with that, you can just allow whatever characters are great for the content but have type disadvantage, being Dex characters, obviously, that will just start hitting like very, very hard. So we brought Nami on this team. I brought Yamato and I brought Zorosanji. They are technically both slashers, cerebrals, and they are Dex characters. I had to sort of find a way to bring a chain boundary unit, so I brought Dogstorm. He's also a slasher character, which can work nicely with Hawkins special, but that's pretty much like the reason that I brought him, to pretty much cater around the content. Now, as you can see, we can turn Dofi into a quick character on the final stage. Obviously, this doesn't go through full immunity, so if the enemy does have full immunity, this is going to be a bit of a problem. And just like normal attacks, stopping the tap timing damage and the reflection damage, this is going to be Hawkins' biggest downfall. Like, if you can't turn the enemy into an opposite type, then unfortunately, like, his special isn't going to be as powerful. But as you can see, like, with the prowess of characters that you can bring on Hawkins' team, you can do some fun stuff. So over to Revolutionary Army 2 now. We're going to take our time a little bit here, unlike what we did in Dofi 2. Now, Dofi 2, we actually managed to no-stall pretty comfortably, except for obviously that first turn with the Penguins. We would have no-stalled it, but unfortunately, Hawkins has that counter. And that's pretty much like the best place to showcase this, right? Like, getting that extra turn counter just allows us to kill the Penguin. The Penguin can't run away, and that's pretty much where like the best of that comes from. Something also that Hawkins does in his captain ability that I totally glossed over is that he has the ability to set verse abilities, swap abilities, and basically any like ability that involves like the EX and stuff like that. So it's like swap, swap verse, and I think that's actually it. But basically what he does is he sets them by 3. So at the start of the quest, you'll automatically get 3 turns of it, which can be good. For this particular showcase, it was a little bit annoying because that means I couldn't really swap with Zorosanji when I wanted to. But at the same time, I definitely could. Like, it didn't matter too much. In the non-boosted meta, this will be very, very good. As we've seen with Int Luffy as a captain, it makes like stalling a little bit easier. It makes getting these really powerful abilities a little bit easier. But obviously Hawkins isn't exactly like a crazy character that you're going to be bringing in these like high damage events anyway, because his multipliers are so low. In saying that though, his kit synergizes pretty well with itself. If you can get the ability to turn the enemy into an opposite type, like we're seeing right here, and then having no normal attacks only, you can apply tap timing damage as well as a tap timing bonus. Now, Hawkins' special did get a massive upgrade. This tap timing shenanigans he pretty much always had. In my opinion, it hasn't really taken off. I think it caps out at 7.5 million, which honestly nowadays is just absolute baby dick damage. 7.5 million back in the day might have been like, oh my god, I can now like one-shot bosses if there's no normal attacks only, or just like stall out the normal attacks only, like with Enel and Katakuri and those types of characters. But like 7.5 mil, man, like it's baby dick. It's so base dick that it's just like not even worth it. But it's just not. The tap timing bonus, like, whilst it can be good for certain content, like I think Grand Voyage we saw it used, it's just not exactly a buff that you're going to prioritize over anything else. It's by far the weakest of the buffs. And on top of that, Hawkins needs to take a lot of damage to actually reflect the amount of damage that we're talking here, and even with the amount of damage taken, it's just literally not worth it. It's not worth it at all. The upside to Hawkins, though, is when you do take damage, you move into the next stage, he just heals it back, which is great because obviously he's designed to stall turns. But the problem I've always found with this unit is that he applies an extra counter to the enemy's attacks, but then wants to take damage. And for that reason, like, it just kind of doesn't make sense to me at all. But what they've now added to his special is very interesting, because if you have the counter at 3, you can obviously turn the enemy into that other type. If you don't have the counter at 3, he's basically just like an 80% damage reduction. Nothing too crazy, but his super type obviously gives threshold. So if you have the damage reduction up and you have the threshold up, which I believe we do on this final stage against Sabo and Koala, you can just take damage and just not have to worry about particular like death hits and stuff like that. So you could see some sort of use for it in the future, maybe some hybrid teams with like Brook and like allowing the revive mechanic to remove the normal attacks only, and then utilizing Hawkins to try and do tap timing stuff. But like I said, he's just such an interesting character in the sense that he's very convoluted in the way he's designed, of not exactly synergizing with himself. But these new extra buffs that they did give him did make him very interesting. And like I said, that doesn't make him a good character. I just think that he's not bad anymore. Like, I can't stress to you guys enough how bad this character was, or still is, to be honest, like the regular 6-star. He's go read his kit and come back to me, because like he's just so bad. The downside to Hawkins, though, whilst the upside to Hawkins, though, whilst he is sort of catered around Dex characters as a captain, his special does buff cerebrals and slashes as well. This gives him much more viability as a sub on particular teams, so that way you can bring him on slasher teams, you can bring him on cerebral teams, utilize him for this extra tap timing buff, which is a buff not a lot of other characters give, and a buff that can actually provide you a lot of extra damage. Like a lot of extra damage. 9 times out of 10, though, if you are running him as a sub, you're not going to see the 3-turn counter, unless you're doing some crazy stuff like Karawanda, or the enemy gives you like a bunch of cooldowns, or you're running like, I don't know, the new Striker Law somehow. I just don't really see a way that you're actually getting the 3-turn counter. But if you can somehow get that as a sub, like having the ability to turn the enemy into a type where you can get type advantage is going to be very, very valuable. However, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to run him as a captain for that, bring a whole like bunch of Dex characters, and then do some pretty fun stuff there. Something else that Hawkins forgot, I just keep glossing over things that Hawkins does. Hawkins as a captain as well also does a 10% HP cut at the end of every turn. So that's where it kind of works in hand with his kit, where if you have the extra turns, you can kind of stall and he's just chipping away at HP. But again, like if there's normal attacks only, like this 10% is just literally doing nothing. Like it's great at getting around resilience, I guess, which we use against Morley, but it's really not something that you are going to sort of prioritize on the team for how low of an attack boost you're actually getting. So all in all, like I actually kind of like what they did with Hawkins. I think no matter what they did to him, he was going to get a buff. Like you could have literally, like, I don't know, thrown poop in his face and he would have got a buff. He was actually that bad. But I actually am kind of not impressed, but like I'm kind of happy with what they did with Hawkins. They didn't make him game breaking. They didn't make him anything too like, oh my god, this is it. Hawkins is the #1 character in the game. But they made him to a point where it's just like, all right, cool. I see what you're trying to do here. I can see how people enjoy utilizing a character like this, but look, it's just, unfortunately, it's not my type of gameplay. And nowadays, with the way that OPTC's gone, it's all about speed. It's all about getting through content fast. It's all about trying to get things done as quickly as possible to really showcase the power and prowess of these like super high-end characters. What Hawkins does do very, very well, though, he does heal, he does tank, he obviously allows you to do a lot of extra turns, which no other character, no other character, but like most other characters can't actually do. And this is a very unique ability and one that you're not going to really see elsewhere in the game. So if you do want to have a little bit of fun with the character, play with some old content and sort of see how this character has been upgraded, dive into some older stuff, because Hawkins can do some pretty cool things. And if you need to tank damage, he is going to be a very viable option. As you guys see here at the end of Sabo and Koala for Rev 2, we're basically just going to utilize the super type of Hawkins for the thresholds, use the damage reduction, and see how we go. We actually did quite a bit of damage there just with Carrot and Wanda, which was very interesting. But as you guys can see, we didn't actually get hit, so, well, that's a bit annoying. But if we got hit, like, we would have been absolutely fine. So, I mean, this is the turn counter stump, you absolute donkey. So, again, that's where it's weird. You get damage reduction and threshold, but then, like, the enemy has these counters. But I guess, like, if you just kind of tapped your way through, then when the enemy does attack you and you have them ready to go, you are going to be in for a very nice time. But that's Hawkins. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. He's not bad, but look, he's definitely not good. Most importantly, though, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. Bell the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!